to the cloud. Welcome everybody. Hi Camille.
Hi.
I'm gonna just pop this down here. It's gonna put a bit of a disclaimer in the chat. Say we are recording. Oh. Okay. Should we wait until about 5 past, Kim, to start properly?
I think that's a good time, yeah.
Yeah, good. And ladies that have joined already, you're welcome to put any questions in the chat. We're going to be covering protective styling, general styling, wash routines, some products, a little bit on retention. Kim, have I forgotten anything?
Methods and care during protective styling. I think you said everything, yeah.
The key categories. So yeah, any questions at all, any demonstrations that I'm able to do with a comb and a brush, I will.
Oh, illegal. Combs are illegal.
I know.
I really have to use them on the kids to get the lint out of the bottom.
Yeah. And also just for, well, when I like lightly press this week, I used a comb, I confess. It was this comb, so it wasn't very
okay.
wasn't super fine. Hi Fabrice, hi Rums. Guys are welcome.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Greetings.
We're going to start in about 3 minutes time. Welcome to put any questions in the chat for us to come back to as we go. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what to do for my hair for like the winter period. You know how the weather's changing? I'm not sure what's next.
Right, but this is where my hair hibernates, get into these kind of seasons. Well, actually, it hibernates most of the time.
Same. But yeah, I guess we've been at home, but also the central heating, that one will get you.
Oh, is it to dry your hair out?
Yeah, I find that in winter, less so about the wind and stuff, because I don't really take windy walks with my hair just flowing, but I find that central heating does dry out my hair.
Right. We tend to keep this house quite cool. Maybe that's why I'm alright, you know.
Yeah, to be fair.
Right. He prefers the cooler climates.
Yeah, I haven't actually done box braids ever because I just hate the idea of having to take out plaits. Like I really enjoy taking out twists and just running my finger through. But
for me, it's rare. I do the whole plaiting over the plait thing, so I don't have to undo my hair, just the extension hair, and then I should put some more over them.
That's so good. Maybe I could try that. How many braids would you say you put in?
Ooh.
Weird to count them. I guess it is weird to count.
Maybe no more than 45, maybe less. I don't know. I don't do small.
Do you part the roots?
Yeah.
Like with a comb or like finger comb? Or
No,
like,
with a rat tail.
Okay.
Rat tail. But then, yeah, I don't keep taking my own hair out. I leave the plaits there, wash it, interlock the root. That's my secret.
Yes. Getting it all today, ladies.
And the early birds got that.
Yeah. The rest will never know. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll try that this year because I've been twisting all my life.
Well, it's done you well. Like that's my favorite, to be honest, because you can moisturize it so well.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And it's so I find it really quick. Just fling a couple of twists in and call it a day. People think you did your hair for a wedding. You're off to Tesco.
You know, you did Tenny's hair the other day, like nearly 6 weeks ago now, and I took it out last Friday.
That's excellent.
Yes.
And it kept her hair keeps well.
Yeah, yes and amen. I was like, yeah, just washed it while it was in there. Happy days. Then it started to look like it was going to lock. Like, time to go.
Was that the same day that you took out the twists? You washed her hair and then you took out the twists the same
No,
day?
I actually started taking it out no, it wasn't last Friday because she had school photos. So started taking it out Wednesday, did the rest Thursday, washed it, bun,
Yeah.
yeah, and now they're in cane rows.
Cute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, maybe. I don't know who's joining. They will not presume. Galaxy could be a man coming for beard tips. Or hair tips. You're really welcome. This is a chat on natural hair, how to look after it, how to retain growth, also how to style it somewhat as well. It's hosted by the NECyouth. So as a Christian group, it's going to kick off with prayer and then we'll jump straight into our discussion. You're really welcome to ask any questions in the chat or to unmute at said intervals or raise your hand. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Zoom and we'll jump straight into it. Kim, would you be okay to pray for us?
Sure, let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us towards the end of another day, Lord. We thank you for those who have joined today. I ask that you be with Melissa and I as we share to encourage others in the hair care sector, to uplift one another, and also just to inspire each other as well. Sometimes we find it difficult to care for the things that we have been blessed with, and I just ask that you will guide us as we do this and look after another aspect of the wonderful bodies that you've blessed us with, and be with those who are still trying to get in or making their way online as well, and let it run smoothly. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Mute. There we go. Thanks everyone for joining again. I'll let Kim kind of guide the discussion, but you're all welcome to contribute. It's definitely more of a discussion rather than a presentation as we had in the previous session. So we'll kind of be sharing our experiences. This session is being recorded so you can use it for your own reference later on. If you send us your email, we can share that with you. And yeah, it's a safe space in terms of it not being put online on YouTube, but it will be shared amongst this group. So if perhaps you don't want to be seen on camera or anything like that, just to be aware of that. Kim, over to you.
Okay, so hi everybody. Welcome and welcome back if you were joining our previous discussion on hair. So today, as you might have seen in the poster, we're mainly going to be discussing protective styles, general styles, growth and retention. Melissa and I have, I guess you could say we've got a wealth of experience with this. We're not necessarily professionals. We've walked the walk, we've done the research, and we're just here to kind of pass on to those who might be inquiring or wondering how to care for their hair better. Maybe you have hair goals or hair health goals. So if you've got any questions, put them in the chat. But yeah, we're going to get started. So first I want to recap general care tips and length goal tips that I shared in the first one that we did. Main things that I would say are really crucial for looking after your hair, and if you want to grow it to your preferred length, is first of all to keep a clean scalp. Keep your scalp clear of build-up, grease, dead skin cells. So washing it regularly. I tend to recommend every 2 weeks. That could be different for different people. It just depends on your sebum secretion rate, I guess, and that's your body's natural oils. Minimal manipulation is like one of the main things, really, especially in terms of hair growth. Minimal manipulation, so not touching it too much, combing, messing with it, styling it all the time, brushing, etc. And we're going to definitely dig into that today. Water and nutrition are obviously important. because your hair has, I guess you could say it's got building blocks. It needs protein, it needs water, for everything that it contains. Moisture is really important if you want to avoid breakage. And you're going to want to avoid breakage if you want growth or health of your hair. Good circulation. Obviously, everything that your hair needs is supplied through the bloodstream. And so keeping up good circulation, exercise, that will all help. And then the last two, I would say, is to avoid heat. Not saying never to use heat on your hair, but if you are used to using it regularly, really try and bring that right down. Personally, I tend to use heat on my hair once, at the most twice a year. I just feel that my hair feels at its best when it hasn't been treated with heat. And then lastly, avoid bleaching your hair. It definitely strips your hair of, its protective shaft and proteins and all of that, and it can weaken and make your hair brittle. That's what I would say in terms of recapping overall health of your hair and for length retention also. So the main thing we're going to talk about today, I guess we can link protective styling to, is minimal manipulation. And so the two aspects of this, I would say, are finger detangling your hair. That's a good way to reduce manipulation of your hair, and also protective styling. So Mel is going to talk a little bit about detangling, because I can say that when I first started to detangle my hair, instead of using like a lot of mechanical, I was going to say weapons, but mechanical tools on my hair, it was actually quite difficult and hard to get used to. So Mel, what would you say about detangling, and any tips for that?
Yeah, sure. So when I first started like really taking my natural hair seriously, I was about 19, and I watched a lady called Kimmy or Love Naturals, I think is what she goes by on YouTube. And she talked about finger detangling, and I was like, well, how are you going to get through this hair with just your hands? But basically the technique is, and my hair's actually I used heat for the first time this year, special occasion over the weekend, so I used a bit of heat, really lightly. So you can see it's not straight, but it's just been lightened out with the blow dryer, tension blow dried, and pressed with a Remington straighteners, the wide ones. We can talk about tension blow drying if you like later. But the technique is that whereas you might normally be familiar with using a wide tooth comb for your hair, I don't use a comb unless I'm parting, and even then it might be like just kind of a rat tail comb or a scoopy implement, or just my hands. In fact, I've got nails, I use those to part. I'm not really fussed about straight lines. But then when it comes to detangling, then if my hair was not straight, then I'd use my handy spray bottle, misty bottle, eBay or Amazon, about $4.99 maybe, and it just, like, you can't see it on here, but it just squirts a mist rather than a jet of water, which means the distribution along the hair shaft is much more even. And I really like it. It's good for all sorts of face, if you like, have a separate one for like skin and stuff. But yeah, I just have water. Some people mix it with conditioner or whatever, but the idea is that your fingers are combs. They kind of look like them. So the idea is that if my hair, well, it is slightly tangled here, I went for a run today. So the idea is that I use my thumb to kind of go through from the top, working my way down to the end. If it's really knotty, then you want to kind of get the ends first. So the ends are the oldest part of your hair. One of the other ladies that I used to watch was from Urban Bush Babes, called Citriana McCann, and she'd call them your elders. You've got to look after the elders of your hair. So yeah, I just kind of work through, like, where I find a tangle, and just kind of working that through to the end, just pulling out. And if you get to a knot like you have here, then I just start kind of pulling in different directions to separate that out. And now you think, she's got a lot of hair, is she going to spend the whole day like finger detangling? But actually, you kind of know how rough or softly you want your hair to be treated. So I work in sections, either sections of 3 or sections of 4. So along the middle of my hair are the 3, 1, 2, and 3. I've got a lot of hair in the middle, like quite dense hair. Or kind of, I part it into 2 like I'm about to do now, just to show you. And I'm feeling the knots and just pulling them apart gently, separate it out like this into 2 sections and work from there. So then I part it again, trying to get at the roots, part it again, trying to get at the roots. And obviously it's been pressed, so it's fairly manageable, but the roots are still a bit tangly. So then I just use a thumb and just kind of work my way through. This is different because I'm on my hair, but if I'm on somebody else's hair, I wouldn't use my thumb so much on someone else's just because of the angle. I'm going to be using my fingers to kind of separate and work down. So I just do that really. The roots of my hair tend to get tangled the fastest just because I exercise quite regularly. And again, you're just kind of running your fingers through and looking for knots, and wherever you find them, you pause, you might spray a little bit more water, use a little bit of oil, and then detangle in that way. So that's finger detangling. Any questions on that? Welcome. If someone wants to unmute to ask, you can. On finger detangling, it's much less painful, I promise you.
Oh yeah.
Kim's daughter's hair the other day, and she was like, Auntie Melissa's hair, Auntie Melissa does it much more nicely than Mummy does.
Auntie Melissa's got a few more years of experience. But yeah, I think a key thing you said there was also the knots. I think people worry about, like, how are you going to get the knots out? If you pull downwards, like below the knot, and then pull the 2 strands or the few strands above it as well, you'll find it kind of just comes out really easily. It's not
pushing it down, aren't you? Like towards the end, and then separating it out to find the one strand that can help loosen it out. Something's tangled, so you need to feel it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so no questions with that. So then I think we'll go on to protective styling then, Mel, which is the main point we're going to discuss today. So there's many different methods of protectively styling your hair. And I guess the phrase protective styling means protecting your ends from the elements, putting your hair away so that you're not always manipulating it. And there are different ways you can do this. You can have your hair in braids, plaits, twists, various kinds of twists, crochet styles, faux locks, weaves, wigs. They are all methods of protection. And we're probably all familiar with most of these, but I think it's also important to implement ideas that can make the protective styling experience more productive for your hair, for length retention, and also for the health of your hair as well. I used to have plaits and cane rows when I was younger, but my hair didn't get as long as it is now because there were parts of the process before and after and during that I wasn't doing, but now I am. So we're going to talk about those things. So prior to installing your protective style, first I want to say this: choose something that's convenient to you, that's easy for you to maintain, easy for you to take out, so it's not a hassle to you. But prior to installing, whatever the case may be, make sure your hair is clean. If you're putting your hair away for a few weeks, you want to make sure that it's in the cleanest state possible. Secondly, make sure your hair is moisturized properly. In the last session, we talked about the LCO method, which is liquid, conditioner or cream, and then oil or butter. Demonstration. So Melissa, can you show us an example of the L first, the liquid? So Melissa's got a leave-in here. You can use, first of all, water. There's Melissa's spray bottle of water. She's got her conditioner. Show you mine as well. I use the Bantu leave-in conditioner. Any of the Bantu range I love.
Mine was the As I Am. I've just been enjoying them quite recently.
Okay. I might try that one. And then a butter or an oil, depending on the texture of your hair and the porosity of your hair. Melissa's got her Shear butter blend, and I have mine.
Whipped.
Yeah, they are whipped. Let me tell you guys, whipping the butter it's revolutionary.
It's the
I would
king.
say to whip it because it's such an easier application on your hair. You can distribute it a lot more easily than like a solid butter. It's so easy. It's so much easier to apply, and you blend your oils up in there. If you want any ideas on ingredients to use, just put it in the chat if you have a question about that. So we've got, make sure your hair is clean, make sure your hair is moisturized, and then make sure your hair is properly detangled. This makes it easier for the takedown of the style. So when you're undoing your style, if your hair is already kind of tangled, can you imagine, taking that out and detangling your hair on top of the detangling that was already, the entanglement that was already there before. So yeah, detangle your hair properly. If you're not used to detangling, gently use a wide tooth comb, but yeah, hopefully, I mean, it comes with practice with the detangling. So that's prior to installing, but also things to avoid. So I think we've all seen pictures of people with edges that are thinner, or we have that issue, or we know somebody with that issue. It's quite common for us to do our hair quite tightly because it looks so neat. However, this causes so much tension on the hair follicles, and sometimes you can do permanent damage. So when you are installing your protective style, be sure not to do your hair too tightly, or if somebody's doing your hair for you, that they don't do it too tightly. You want to undo your protective style knowing that the hair that's coming out is naturally shedding and it's not actually being pulled out, okay? So you want to keep not just the length of your hair, but the density or volume of your hair as well. Second thing to avoid is allowing your hair to stay dirty for long periods. We don't want any bacterial or fungal issues going on with your scalp. You don't want that. So yeah, keep cleaning your hair, especially your scalp, during the protective style. And in a moment, I'll talk about styles that are kind of easy to deal with in terms of washing your hair than others. So yeah.
Just to add, Kim, something that I've like read about recently. There's a lady on Instagram called the Green Beauty, and she's like very scientific about like her hair. But she does something called like scooping and spreading. So she kind of like sprays her scalp, massages the scalp, and kind of lifts gently with her fingertips, not her nails, the sebum from her hair. And because sebum is an oil, she actually scoops and spreads that along the hair shaft, kind of moisturizing it as she goes. Because it's not, obviously our hair does get dirty, but it's not dirt alone, I guess. It on our scalp, right? It's sweat, shall we say, rather than dirt, because our hair's hidden by hair. Our scalp is hidden by hair. So the Green Beauty, she scoops and spreads that sebum, and her hair's like down here, and natural. So that's something perhaps to consider. That's also cleaning the scalp, isn't it? Technically, I guess you're lifting up that blockage of the pores on your scalp by spreading that sebum, those natural oils. The things you're eating are producing oils, they're good for your hair, and you're spreading them down the hair shaft. And the other thing was, perhaps you can talk a little bit about retention just before you get into protective styling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'll explain what retention is. Good idea, Mel. So um, minimal manipulation is also really good for retaining the length of your hair. So as Black people, we may have been told that our hair doesn't grow very well, or it will never get as long as somebody of a Caucasian background or whatever, which isn't the case. It's just that our hair has so many kinks and coils and twists and turns that it's easier for our hair to break, to get caught and break, especially if you comb as well. You're basically snapping ends off your hair, which is obviously going to affect the length of your hair. So length retention is basically, as your hair grows, keeping all of that length. You basically want to grow your hair at a quicker rate than it's breaking, and ultimately not break it at all. So if your hair's not breaking at all, you're just getting length. The length is going to keep on increasing, but we are quite used to breaking our hair off and unknowingly breaking our hair off. So yeah, that's why protective styles are so good, because if you're not messing about with your hair and you've kept it in a style that can stay for a few weeks, a month, 6 weeks, whatever, then all of that time you're not breaking anything off, but your hair is growing. So that's how you're going to get length retention, retaining the length.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I guess we'll go on to talk a bit more about like the before, during, and after part of that protective styling stage. But for example, if you're putting your hair into braids, like when I first realized that my hair could grow, I was away for a year working abroad, and it was then that I had my hair in twists for like basically the whole year because I didn't want to mess with it. It was super hot there, and when I got back, I was like, oh, my hair's grown a bunch. But was it healthy? No, because the ends, actually, I hadn't been looking after the ends. I put it away, protected the hair, but I hadn't been looking after it, and the ends were quite brittle and still very fragile. So there's a lot of deep conditioning and things that had to be done. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about, in that retention, protection only isn't the answer, like Kim said, from her
Right.
childhood or doing all the braids. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll get to that as well. So yeah, it was actually my next point. Don't leave your ends loose, is a good one, and don't leave them unattended to. So say if you have got twists, my hair's in twists right now as well, but I've got to remember to moisturize my ends more than the rest of my hair because it's more exposed to wind, heat, and it's less protected by the neighboring hair, if you know what I mean. So yeah, definitely if your hair's in a protective style, there's certain steps you need to take to make sure the hair that's being protected is actually thriving as well. But another thing I was going to say for things to avoid is very heavy extensions, just because they cause tension on your hair. Not only because it can be uncomfortable to sleep in, but yeah, that pulling, that tension is going to weaken the anchor that your hair has in the follicles and the hair follicles. So yeah, during your protective styling, again, keep that scalp clean still. If you plan to have a protective style for a month, 2 months, or whatever, doesn't mean you don't wash it. And more importantly, it's the scalp. It's your scalp that needs cleansing. As Melissa was saying, hair shaft, no problem. It's the scalp that needs that clearing away of the buildup of sebum. And moisturize your hair. Even if it's in braids with extensions, you can still use a light oil on it. It will seep through to your hair and kind of keep in the moisture that you put in before you put your protective style in the first place. I would also suggest that you change your extension hair every like 4 to 6 weeks. I wouldn't really go past that, personally, just for the whole scalp hygiene thing. But everybody's different. But yeah, still keep your scalp clean in between. Do you want to add anything to that, Melissa?
Yeah, I was going to say it can depend on like also like how active you are, how much you're sweating, like are you traveling a bunch? Like when I was getting the tube a lot for work, like obviously just people, seats and stuff, like your hair's maybe leaning on the back of the seat and picking up that dirt. You're exercising a lot, then you're sweating more, producing more moisture on your scalp. So I mean, the sebum that's produced, perhaps you'll find it's kind of grey, a little bit chalky, but if it's like dirty, like now looking more brown, then you can tell that your lifestyle is meaning that you need to perhaps wash that more often. Not that it's not just about your hair smelling and maybe focusing on the actual extension itself, as Kim's like emphasizing, the growth aspect at least is about your scalp. The hygiene generally, like the face, COVID-19, would be about washing your hair.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Now for aftercare, so once you are done with your protective style, how do you make sure that you retain the length that you've just spent however many weeks growing? So what I would advise is to lubricate the ends of your twists, so especially if it's just your hair. Say if I've got twists now or plaits, just put a little bit of oil at the ends so you're not so you reduce the friction, so reducing the breakage there at the ends, and treat your ends gently. If you've got like long braids and it's a lot longer than your hair is, I wouldn't say you need to really lubricate it too tough, because by the time you get up to your hair, it's quite easy. Wash your hair thoroughly once you've taken out a protective style, because even if you've been washing your hair between, there are places that you probably couldn't get to properly. And then also, I would suggest to deep condition or protein treat your hair as necessary. Assess how your hair feels. If it feels like, okay, it's a little bit on the rough side, you can tell it kind of needs some TLC, then I would recommend a protein treatment. There's a brand called Aftercare, and they do like a 2-minute, there's a 2-step treatment and there's a 2-minute treatment. I use the 2-minute treatment because I haven't got time for long processes. And you literally, when you wash your hair, you put that on after you shampoo, leave it for 2 minutes, wash it out, and it helps to kind of replace the protein in your hair, so it feels softer and stronger as well. It definitely feels stronger. But I wouldn't say do that regularly. Maybe once every 2 months or as needed, basically. Deep condition to get that moisture returned back to your hair, and just be gentle with your hair. Detangle again, with care. Don't just start hacking away with a small tooth comb from the ends of your hair. You want to keep everything you've just spent a few weeks growing. Yeah.
Tesh had a question, and she was saying that her hair's growing. She does it herself, but she finds a lot of hair on the floor after she's taking out the protective style. It's kind of, I guess, what would we say to that? From my experience, shedding to an extent is natural. So the way that it's shedding and not breakage, like I found since I've pressed my hair, there's quite a bit of breakage at the end, but that may just be, well, my hair needs a good trim. But when you kind of run your hand through your hair and you pull out hair, you can't see on here, but this piece of hair that I've just pulled out, it's the length of my the length of my hair. Let me keep connecting, it stopped. It's the length of my hair. So that's a shed piece of hair. It's coming out from the scalp and it's being shed. If it's broken, you're going to find kind of little dry ends, maybe they're a bit straighter than normal. So you need to kind of diagnose a little bit about what type of hair is coming out.
Right.
Yeah, what else, Kim?
Yeah, I would say also if it's broken hair, it would be a lot shorter than your hair length. And also, if it's coming from the roots, you can kind of tell there's a little bit of like it's like, I don't know, inside of a follicle, it's like a little white bit at the end that's coming straight out of your root. But just make sure you're not doing your hair too tightly, to make sure it's not shedding excessively. You will get shedding, especially if you've had your hair in for a long time. You're also taking out hair that would have shed if you were doing your hair, regularly. When I had I had locks for over 3 years and undid them, and there was, I mean, 3 years of shedding. There was like, I had a whole box of hair, but it was just what would have normally shed. So, yeah.
The hair's coming off at the end, for example, when I complete a twist, the end comes off in my hand. That sounds like damage, really dry
Right.
and breakage. So
Yeah.
I trim your hair to make sure that it's healthy. And then I don't know, if I do a twist, what comes out? It's generally the shedding that's coming out at the end if your
Yeah.
hair is in a healthy state. and moisturize, more importantly, stay. You're not going to find the ends just kind of snapping off.
Yeah, if your hair is damaged by heat or it's already brittle for some reason, that may happen. So when you are, another point, when you are putting your hair into twists, even if it's just twists, do it as you moisturize your hair. So what I do, or what I did for these, for example, is for each one, spray it, leave-in conditioner, oil, then I twist it and I make sure it's juicy for as long as, when it's there set. So hopefully that can start to reduce
Yeah.
the
And maybe
breakage.
using that kind of LCO method that Kim spoke about, because it's not just about, is my hair wet? That's not, water is moisture for sure, but then you're going to trap the moisture in, and those extra layers that conditioner or cream and oil are trapping in the moisture you've added with water.
Yeah.
So when I'm twisting my natural hair, I'm looking for bounce, I'm looking for spring back, I'm looking for some level of shrinkage as well.
Right. That's how you can tell your hair's healthy. If you wash your hair and the ends are straight, then you may have some damage, unless your hair is naturally straight. But
They say.
if it probably isn't. But if your hair is straight at the ends and the roots are curly or coily, you know what I mean, then you've probably got some heat damage going on. Yeah, as Mel said, you want some bounce and some coil when your hair is wet. So yeah, if that's an issue, you may need a trim. So yeah, that's what I'd say for aftercare. Yeah, so different types of protective styles, I would say, are more convenient for others for different reasons. So if you really want to make sure you maintain moisture, like if you can easily moisturize your hair, I would say braids, or plaits, your own plaits, twists, and even faux locks. If you're doing individual faux locks, really easy to moisture there. You can spray your roots, you can put oil on them, and the oil will go straight through into your hair. That's a breeze. I would say it's a little more difficult to moisturize your hair if you have, say, weaves or crocheted that where your hair is cane road, just because you can't really get it down the shaft, but you're going to be getting it on your scalp a lot. I actually don't recommend putting oil on your scalp, but it's not for everybody. But I definitely would recommend you try not to, and get into a routine where you have your natural oils moisturizing your scalp. Get a lot less build
Training.
up.
Takes a bit of training, I think, like of your scalp, like it's
Yeah,
learning. Like
yeah,
it's a good example, which I'm sure we can relate to as women. Men don't really use lip balm, do they, or like Vaseline? But we kind of like train our lips to need like that moisture.
yeah.
And if you don't use it, like I've been at home, so I've not really been using a bunch. You're like, oh, like I actually don't need lip balm. Just like
Hmm.
moisture in the morning and good to go. Also hydration. But I think it's important to my mom used to always part my hair and use like blue magic, I guess, on the scalp, because it was to prevent your scalp from getting dry. Fine for the time. We now understand science a bit more, understand sebum a bit more. So what we are suggesting is that you free your scalp to release those natural oils and let that moisturize. You might get a couple of dry spells when perhaps you've been using stuff on your scalp before, but you're kind of retraining the skin to just appreciate the natural oils that come from your body.
Exactly. It takes a few weeks of that. I would say also, if you get those dry spells, to wash your scalp again, and it's like you just start again, and it really helps to get your scalp into the rhythm. So yeah, if you have any questions on that, just post them. Yeah. So I'm going to share a little secret that I have. If you've like watched my webinar before, you'll know it already. So if I plan to avoid manipulating my hair for the longest time possible. Like last year, I kept my hair in a protective style from October until February. I changed my style, but I didn't undo my hair. That may sound a little bit confusing. So what I did, I can actually show you a picture of a couple of the styles that I did in a moment. But what I did was I plaited my hair in individual plaits, and then for the first style, I just plaited braids over it. Couldn't really see that my hair was plaited as well as having the plait over it. So after, like, let's say 2 weeks, washed it just like that. Another 2 weeks, I undid the extension braids, but I kept my plaits there. Washed it, gave the scalp a really good scrub. And then as the growth had made the roots of my plait loose, what I did was interlock the bottom of my hair. Obviously I used to have locks, so I'm familiar with interlocking your hair, but it's really, really easy. You just use a crochet needle and loop your hair through the bottom of the root, and it's just tighter, a little bit tighter. And then I'd put on some faux locks on those. So all this time I'm not doing a thing to my ends. I'm just tightening the roots as it grows.
Let's pause, Kim, because if you're not familiar with some of those terms, it might be a bit complicated.
Okay, so interlocking, yeah. So interlocking is where you, okay, I'm gonna take out one of my twists. Okay, so this is a twist, right? So say this, oh, I've got a plaster. If I go a couple of weeks and this loose bit here gets to about here, I will take the end of my hair and using an interlocking needle, I will put it through the root, pull through so that it's tighter at the bottom. So the interlocking needle will go up between the root and pull the end through. So
That is the crochet needle.
same needle, yeah. Crochet needle.
Look like this little plastic.
Yeah, crochet needle and interlocking needle is the same thing. So that's what I would do to tighten my roots, and I wouldn't have to undo this whole thing, this whole twist or plait again. I would just keep it, and then when I'm ready to, I put in another style. I might braid hair over it again, or I might put in some twists over it, or put in some faux locks. So yeah, that's how I kind of avoid doing my hair or manipulating my hair for an extended period of time.
Does anybody have questions on any of that at all? Just mindful that that's quite maybe complex if you're not familiar with some of the terms or just what she's done. So how long was it from, Kim? October till February?
October to February, so what, 4 months, something like that. And I haven't actually come across anyone who does that.
No,
So
before either. So what she said is that she's put her hair into, I think I asked her before the call, she said 45 individual plaits, right? So it's supposed to twist the 3-strand braids. She's got singles basically of her own hair, and with those same 45 braids she's putting those into different styles. So using extensions, if she wants to do box braids, like longer braids, she's putting her hair in the middle of that and plaiting her hair into those box braids. Or if it's a faux lock, she's putting her hair on the inside, so not touching it basically, which I've not been disciplined enough to do, but there's a lot of length there.
yeah,
And reaped as a result.
yeah. I mean, I can show you. I'll just share. Can you see? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the 2 styles in the corner. They had so the one on the right, the faux locks. I actually wore that. I had that style like twice during this time. So both pictures, I had my hair in singles. It was the same singles. They were not undone, but I did a few different styles on them, if you know what I mean. So for the first one, I had braided over my plaits, took those out, tightened my roots using the crochet needle, Then I put faux locks in without undoing my hair. So that's, yeah, that was a really good time because it saved so much time. It saved manipulation and breaking my ends off. So yeah, that's
You've got to be quite like Kim's a low maintenance. Like,
I'm a low maintenance
yeah.
hair person. I really am. I don't like doing my hair a lot, and I know I get some stick from people. Oh, you got such long hair, you don't do anything with it. Well, when I want to, it's there. So I definitely enjoy hair health. So for me, it works.
And
You know.
that's a decision you might want to kind of think about, those on the call, is what's most important to you? Is it the health of your hair and the retention of your hair, or is it about kind of having your hair out and having a lot of kind of flowy styles or poofs? Because those out styles will definitely cause breakage.
Mm.
If it's prolonged, even like my hair, as I've had it pressed and out over the weekend, that's it. Like before this call, it was in six twists and into a bun at the end, because it's all about protection for retention, right? So if that's not your style, that's not what you're interested in, if you want to kind of go for, I don't know, if you've got like U-part wigs and you want to have your hair out and it looks all slick and shiny, that's fine, but you will damage your hair by having by pressing it that often and having your hair out. I have a cousin, I love her, and whenever I see her, she has her hair in like a poof at the top, and I'm like, but the ends. It's just out into the elements, rubbing against the back of the car seat, and I'm just like, you're just breaking off your hair. And she has, well, you know, we have the same genetics, and I can relate to all of me and Kimber went to school together actually, but like I have pictures in year 10, 11, and I just had like bone straight fringes, like sizzled fringe. My dad used to hate the smell of burning. And then at the back, I'd have just a poof, and my hair grew here. It was thick because that's just like genetically, we've got thick hair in my family. But it wasn't really growing past kind of this length, and it was nice, and it was comparatively perhaps to some of the other girls that I was like around like longer. But now it's like it's down here because of the change in lifestyle and the lack of seeing and just having it out. So you have to pick like what you want to do with your hair.
Yeah, same here, Mel. It was basically part of the routine to straighten my hair as soon as I washed it and then retouch it every couple of days. And yeah, it wasn't getting past there then. So yeah, if you want it to grow long, you have to do the low manipulation for a while, a few years, you know. They say you can grow your hair about 6 inches per year. It's doable. So yeah, you just got to weigh up the pros and cons. But I mean, my hair's not completely away all the time. If I have an event coming up, or you know, now I'm not at church, so it's away even more. But if I've got an event coming up, I plan to kind of do a nice style, maybe a twist out. I love a twist out, and I'll do it then. But I'm not wearing the twist out too often. Definitely not more than 2 days in a row. Put it back away, and you know, assess the situation.
And you can feel it, I think, like when your hair's been out, or like, I don't know, been to an event or just been out for the day. Obviously it's got bigger, sorry, over the day, but also you can feel that the moisture you put in has now left. So imagine doing a week of that or days of that. Your hair's just like, please put me away. Even if it's just at night, just tucking it in. This is my trusty headscarf. Like my family and like friends, I walk everywhere with it. It's silk. It's just there, ready. Even in the day, I'm like, I'll just tie it down.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started this whole, well, my hair was always natural, but I wasn't always looking after it. When I undid my locks, and I was like, oh, I've got all this hair now, and I was doing like, I was having my hair out a lot, wash and goes sometimes. Yeah, and I realized I got so many single strand knots so many. It was like every single strand of my hair had a single strand knot in it, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. I had to cut it all off. Not all my hair, like the ends of all of it. So yeah, the more your hair is out as well, you'll be prone to knots, which is also going to cause breakage because of the snagging. So yeah, that's why I protect my ends and keep my hair, you know, in a way that can be moisturized easily, as regularly as I want to. So yeah, any questions, anybody? If so, just shoot or put them in the chat. So I guess to kind of finish this bit before we talk about general styling, main points were choose styles that are convenient and manageable for you and that allow you to clean your scalp and moisturize your hair. Moisturize your hair well before protective styling, avoid tight styles, and care for your hair during the protective style. Oil it every so often. If you know your hair, like if mine was in braids for a while, I'd make sure I put oil in it once or twice a week. How it is now, it's really easy to moisturize. I'll probably do that maybe once a week, depending on how it feels. Have a gentle, lubricated takedown of the style, and then follow it up with a deep condition or protein treatment. Deep condition, you can buy a deep conditioner. Some people use homemade recipes like mayonnaise or egg or whatever. I don't because of the smell of it. But I definitely do a protein treatment. So yeah, protective styling wrapped up, I think.
I was going to add maybe just on, oh yeah, edges. Lola's asked, but edges. Um, just kind of talk about, I'm just typing to Giselle on which protein treatment we would recommend. You said mayonnaise, egg, avocado. Anything fatty, is that kind of the trend? Avocado?
Yeah, and honey, that's like a humectant, isn't it? So it draws in moisture, so you can use honey in that. YouTube have a lot of recipes there, or you can buy a deep conditioner. But yeah, there's plenty out there on YouTube, etc. Yeah,
Edges.
edges.
Bear with me, got a call coming in. So edges, I my edge is okay at the moment. I have like a scooped hairline, and when I think the last time I kind of really put a lot of pressure on my edges would have been when I've tried to get very neat extension twists, and I've like squared out the hair, and then on my edges I'm like, because that's where people are going to see, that's where I'm going to be slicking the gels. That's the part that I maybe would put more tension on to keep neat. I didn't have Kim's trick of like interlocking to keep the roots tight, and I don't tend to do, I do my own hair just because I've had some traumatic experiences with others. So I've been to the hairdressers maybe like once in the last 5 years. But in terms of, it's about prevention. I'll talk prevention, maybe Kim can talk cure. On the prevention side, your edges don't want tension. My hair's quite strong and thick, so each strand of my hair is quite thick. It's not fine. I think Kim's hair is quite a lot finer than mine. So because it is quite strong, I can put a bit more tension on it perhaps than somebody else could. But even then, I'm just mindful that I want to look after my edges. So what I would recommend is then not putting a lot of tension in the first place. Our tension looks like really fine cane rows and trying to get every piece of hair in so it looks super neat. Tension. That's pulling on the follicles, and it's just asking for the follicles to say, okay, release me. and off they will go. You take your hair out and they'll be gone. Or you're like putting a lot of tension. You remember back in the day when we'd like put our hair back and we'd like slick it with the gel and we're just raking it with a comb or a brush. That's another form of tension. So be it twists or cane rows or trying to get it on all friction. Hey, my wig wearing sisters. I tried wearing a wig for a bit, but I was just too scared of my edges. It was before they got this really nice soft lace that they have now. It was a bit kind of more meshy, but I just felt like after one day that my edges were disappearing because that friction, that movement. I know you have like wig grips and stuff as well now that perhaps are better than when I was wearing like a wig, but that tension on your edges and that friction, on your edges, that slight movement is just rubbing away at the softest part of your hair, which is your baby hairs, which are where your edges are. So again, you don't want to be doing that, either a reduced wig wearing or get a very good wig grip. And you don't want to be putting glue on them and then like ripping that off, being very sensitive about that. So I would say prevention is better than cure when it comes to edges. And if you do go to a hairdresser, just be very explicit about how loose you want the edges of your hair to be done. You don't want to feel that tightness. If you can't sleep in the night, it's too tight. If you're like in pain and need to take a paracetamol, it's too tight. So we don't have to suffer, ladies. So that would be my advice on that.
You shouldn't be able to feel your pulse around here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can also get an edge saver for your wig. It's like a velvet band, which is really soft on your edges, but because it's velvet, the wig won't slip off.
Mm-hmm.
So you can try that. You can probably get them on Amazon or something. But yeah, so prevention is better than cure. But for the cure, I mean, it depends on what's actually happening with your edges. You need to maybe see a trichologist, or if it's not that deep yet, try peppermint oil and Jamaican black castor oil on your edges. Peppermint oil is really good for circulation and stimulating the scalp and the follicles. So try that first of all. Just massage gently, really gently on your edges, and the Jamaican black castor oil, I think, helps thicken up your hair. I haven't personally used it. I don't like the feel of it because it's so thick of an oil. But if you need to, then go for that. If it's not helping, you probably need to see a trichologist. There might be a deeper issue going on. Some forms of hair loss are permanent, some are not. So maybe your edges can come back, they can be saved. So try those two things, I would say, and maybe also aloe vera. Aloe vera is just like a healing plant, So yeah, try that too. I had edge issues. I don't tend to have edge issues really, but when after having a child, say, the shedding is unreal. It completely changes your hairline. So I did have it then, but it kind of came back in just as hormones start to balance again. But I would also say, in terms of prevention, I know like slicked and styled edges are really fashionable, but the gel does dry out your hair. I don't tend to do it. You'll barely see me with slicked edges. What I sometimes do, say my hair is fraying, nobody really wants it fraying too much. Put some leave-in conditioner on it, smooth it a little bit, and just tie, like, I have this, like, it's like an edge scarf. Tie this down on there, and it kind of flattens them a little bit so it's not fraying. But the whole gel and I could never do it very well anyway. But I think I used to do it like before it was a thing, like when I was in my teens.
Yeah.
Now, I try to avoid doing that much. Very rarely, sometimes, but
that's what I was going to say. Like, let's just embrace as women. Maybe we can like change the trends, like that our edges just grow as they are. Once they're moisturized, like they don't grow naturally. Well, I guess when you're a baby, they're kind of cute and slicked, but like they're just what they are. Like it's okay for like the front of your hair to have a little fullness in it, rather than being like super slick and super like a lot of tension in that part. Like if you're scooping it back, scraping it back, if there's a bit more volume, just embrace it and maybe make it kind of a whole style, rather than like trying to like, you know, when your hair's resisting you, then sometimes I can say when I wash my hair, it takes maybe 3 days for me to be able to manipulate it as quickly or into the styles that I really want to. Day 1 and day 2, I'm just starting to tame it again, because it's feeling full, it's full of water, it's very moist. It's like, I'll do my own thing. I won't listen to you. By day 3, I'm kind of like, I do a lot of stretch styles to avoid what Kimbeley mentions, the single strand knots. So even though I don't use heat all year, I do use very, not tight at the root, but tight along the hair, braids to stretch out my hair for styling in the week. If I'm not working from home, then they'll just stay in the box, the braids. But that then means that that then means that a couple of days I'm just doing different styles that I might want to do, and just kind of moving with what my hair kind of is happy to do, rather than forcing it in something that perhaps it doesn't, and having to use extra product, having to use extra tension to get it there, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I would agree, especially with the stretched styling. In one way, but then not in another. So for example, I've got twists now, and I twist my hair when it's damp, put in the all the moisture, and then the ends obviously they coil quite a bit. So what I do is sometimes, kind of as my hair is now, I wrap it so the ends are kind of stretched a little bit. So then when it's down, they're not so coiled, so they're not going to cause such a problem in terms of snagging and stuff. Which is another thing. If you're going to be styling your hair quite a lot, like Mel said, have it in a stretched state. But if you're going to be putting your hair away for a while, or you're setting it in a style, do it when it's already damp. I find it so much easier to do my hair when it's, when it's just been washed, and there's more slip on it, But I don't stretch my hair as much as you, Mel. I don't think.
You're right.
Hair's kind of stretched quite a bit. I just can't. So
it's so thick. I find that there's just so much of it. So for example, if I like right now, I don't press my hair to put it into braids, but this is a great time to put it into braids because there's just less on the scalp.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Hours to get into it when it's not stretched, because it's just so dense, and I feel like I would then use more extensions to compensate or to match up to that thickness. But when I stretch it, there's less poof, so I'm able to use less hair. So that's why I'd say.
And I've seen your puff quite a lot. Oh yes, she's got a lot there. But yeah, and our hair is quite different. Mine is very fine, and yours is very each strand is quite thick and strong.
Fine hairs. I feel like if you looked at both of our hairs from the distance, mine might be more dense, but if we were standing like this, Kim's hair would still be as wide as mine because she has a lot of strands of fine hair.
Right. Yeah, I think under the microscope it would be like game over. So yeah, where were we? Okay, so we're on to styling then. So any questions about styling? As I've said, for me, I definitely go for protective styles quite often. But I do love a twist out if I'm going to be out somewhere. So for me, it's like twist out. It's a sleeked back ponytail. Gotta love that. And then if I'm in dire straits, I don't know what's going on with my hair, it needs washing, but I've got to go somewhere, then it's an emergency bun. But that requires quite a lot of holding gel, but I know I'm going to wash it out soon, so that's that. Back to, I want to talk about a product that you can use to set your styles, and you may even be able to use it on your edges and not do too much damage, and that's flax gel. Yeah, you used it, Mel?
Yeah, I can make some now, actually, now that I've got a bit more space to do that. Do you want to tell us the process?
Yeah, so you basically get some flax seeds,
Ground or whole?
Whole flax seeds, because otherwise you'll have bits in the gel. Whole flax seeds, let's say about a tablespoon can do you a really good amount. Put it in a small pot and boil it for about 5 to 8 minutes, and it kind of becomes very gelatinous. And then what you do is strain that. So if you've got quite a fine sieve or strainer, or preferably some foot of some tights, put it in there, push out the gel, and you retain all of the flax seeds. You can keep them and use them another time, put them in the freezer. And then the gel that you have is it's plant-based, and it's got omega-3. When you use it in your hair, it doesn't leave that white cast on your hair so much like the regular gels that you buy, like Eco Styler, etc. And it may not be quite ideal for like a slicked style, but it's quite good for setting a style. So what I mean by that is, if you want to do a twist out or a braid out, I would recommend using that. And once your hair is dried, so maybe overnight, for me, I leave it a couple of days, because there's nothing worse than undoing a braid or twist out and your hair's still damp. Just put it back in. So yeah, once it's dry, it will set that quite nicely, and it's quite a natural, very gentle way to do that.
I was just typing in the chat that I add essential oils in there too, like usually rosemary. And it has really good slip. So by slip we mean like it's really viscous. So like when you're detangling your hair, it's going in, it's helping move the hair out of the way when you're detangling, for example. But also it has a really nice shine to it, I found too. Just, I'm not sure what it is about flaxseed gel and aloe vera, I think, are the things that get into my hair the most to moisturize, as well as to kind of use as a gel. Aloe vera gel, you can use that on your edges too with the scarf.
I haven't found aloe vera gel.
At Holland and Barrett, so we get it in the penny sale, like the slim
Oh,
one.
right, okay.
Use it for everything, like your face, moisturizer, but like
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I know the one. I just didn't think to use it on hair. Okay, cool. Give that a try. Yes. Okay. So any styles you want to share, Melissa? Quick, easy, or go-to styles,
okay.
elegant styles.
As I said, like I normally stretch my hair. Like you won't catch me in a wash and go, because I'll be washing and not going anywhere. Um, I shan't be leaving the house like that. It's not that it's not cute, but it's just that the curl pattern of my hair, and people do it, but it's just a lot of effort to like define some of the curls. I guess that people do, like maybe finger coiling or like diffusing and stuff. It's not me. I haven't got that kind of energy, and I know I'll get lost for a fact. So what I do in stretching. So first, wash days happened. I've squeezed out the moisture from my hair. I've done the LCO method. I put it into maybe 4 braids on each side of my head. Gone to bed, woken up, taken them out. It's going to be a low bun day, probably. Then maybe if I'm exercising and kind of want to keep the twists working towards the weekend, then I'll do maybe 8 twists on each side of my head, low bun. If I'm feeling like a bit quirky, do like a little flick over the front and then bring that around. I like to I'll just do it quickly with this, but one that's like always a good one, and people are like, oh, you're going to a wedding? No, just a bit hairstyle. I'll like do a side parting here. No, making a bit of a mess. Do a side parting here, and then I'll maybe not that deep. I'll do a side parting. Again, I'm just using my fingers, and I rarely use combs. And I'll take like the front part of my hair and across, thinking about the shape of my hair, not hairline, but my head. And then I'll just like twist like this, not actually twisting, but turning the hair.
Right, like roll.
Oh yeah, good roll. The rest goes back into a bun. And depending on how much sauce you want to give for that day, if it's tight, I'm just kind of going to work, and I just can't really. Can you see like this?
Mm-hmm.
that and then put it in the bun, and it's like, oh, okay, little something extra. Or if
Hmm.
you want to kind of give a full on boom, then I'll like leave it open like this, and then sometimes I'll like put it to the side and put it up in a bun like that. I think that was
Right.
the wedding
And
bun.
that's good on any length of hair, really, isn't it? Yeah,
Mm,
any length of hair. I mean, even if your hair is very short, at the back, you can maybe just do some twists, or like have a twist out at the back and do the side, like the roll that Melissa showed. What I tend to do, I guess my routine is when my hair's been washed, I should wash it in sections, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. Wash it, condition it, and then straight away I do the leave-in conditioner and the shea butter blend in about maybe 6 plaits or twists. My hair being finer, um, I I mean, if I was to do it in like if I put my hair into 2 plaits, they would look so thin. My hair is very fine, so with my braid outs or twist outs, I do a lot of fluffing, separating, so it looks quite full. But yeah, put that away, maybe in like 6 to 8 braid twists. So plait the root, twist the rest, and
okay.
then if I'm going to work, put it at the back in a bun, or just in a ponytail. But I definitely plait the root first, because that stretches it, so I don't have to deal with like the thick, well, not thick, but thick roots during during the week or whatever. Once that's dry, after maybe I've worn it to work for like 3 days or 2, depending on how messy it got, then I put my hair in some twists that are smaller, and then go another week, or like I've done.
Braiding
That's
those
exactly what I did.
Are you
Say
braiding
again?
are you braiding the roots of those twists as well?
I do, only a little bit, just because it stays a little bit more secure. And yeah, I'm not fussed about parting, hence that zigzag. Yeah, a little bit of a plait first, just to keep it a little bit secure to my head, and then twist all the way down. And I'm happy, can moisturize it really well.
That's really good. I also walk around the house in like what my sister, if she's on the call still, calls like 2 horns, and they're just like, because my hair is a little bit thicker than Kim's, I just have like 2 low pigtails in plaits, and that's just how I go to the shop like that. I go around the house like that. I'll do that's. I don't go on calls for work like that because I do look about 12. But I shout out to the 2 horn. Thank yeah, they're my favorite, and it stretches my hair because of the plait at the bottom. It has a little wave to it. It's if I've got it, even with my hair stretched like this, I'll do that, and then going out for dinner, I'll have a nice little body wave to it from the plait. So it works for me. And again, regardless of the length of your hair, as long as you've got enough to kind of plait, you can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Stretching from pulling a little and then plaiting at the end. We're wrapping up, guys. So any questions or any final points, kind of, Kim? I was going to mention tension blow drying, which is what I do to avoid excessive heat on my hair. So, or reducing the amount of heat. So rather than going in with like the comb at the end of the blow dryer, I just take my hair when it's wet and stretch it from the root, like really kind of pulling on that a little bit, and then the blow dryer kind of just puffs it out like and then I put it down, do a little bit of the ends, go back up, let it blow in the blow dryer air, and then I try not to get it too crisp, so I might use the kind of the medium setting or the high setting, but for a shorter period of time, and then that's that bit done. And I either plait that to keep it stretched for the time, or leave it out and then put it all in a bun afterwards. That's how I blow dry my hair. So I maybe use a little bit more heat than Kim per year. I might, like, I don't have an issue using tension blow drying to speed up the drying process every 3 months perhaps, and also just kind of like get out some of the shedding, just because my hair again is quite dense, and if it's stretched I can get in there. Tension blow drying, so you've got a blow dryer, just the circle part and maybe the refined directional blow dryer bit, the head part that you can add to it. So not the comb. I use that, and I'm blow drying using tension, pulling my wet hair, which would normally spring back, right? Pulling my wet hair out to the side and just blowing the blow dryer underneath, keeping the tension. And that then means that it's drying the hair, but I'm not using excessive amounts of heat on every single strand. And that's meant that I haven't had a great deal of heat damage, though I would use more heat than I'd say Kim does annually.
Right, yeah. I think my hair just can't take it. But I was gonna say another way you can stretch your hair is to put it in Bantu knots or in a bun or a couple of buns, as well as doing plaits. If your hair is fine like mine and you want to do a twist out or a braid out, do less braids or twists, otherwise they're going to be really thin and then the curl just doesn't work. Or do a braid or twist with some like expressions or Nicholson hair, just to define or make those curls a little bit bigger if you want to try that. But yeah, I don't know if there's any more points I can add or any other questions.
Everyone's been very quiet today.
Oh,
Before we wrap up, any questions, feel free to unmute. You're not restricted. How often do you wash? Kim washes every 2 weeks. I also wash every 2 weeks. I run like for exercise and exercise daily. So my hair does kind of, the scalp mainly will get a bit of extra sebum released and a bit more sweat. So I will wash. But my friend Tony, actually, she said to me, actually washing your hair is less, when you're doing it as regularly, it's less about it being dirty and more about boost, like a moisture bomb almost, like you're sticking your whole head under a shower and adding water. Water is moisture. Doing that more regularly means your hair is more moist on a monthly basis. So I kind of think like that, like my hair needs moisture, rather than spritzing with my little bottle every day, let me just get under the shower and just give it a full-on bit of exposure to water.
co-washing. I mean, co-washing, I'm not in the general practice of doing that. I have done that before, and I think it's okay. But when I wash it, I want a really good wash, so I just use shampoo, and just condition really well. Or I use a clay wash, which is quite exfoliating for the scalp, and it doesn't dry your hair out. So I think I prefer that to a co-wash. You co-washed, man?
Yeah, I actually used to do it a lot. I think some of the YouTubers I used to follow only co-washed. Um, the idea is that shampoo is very drying and strips the moisture from your hair, which then can lead to additional issues later on. But if we're protein treatmenting, masking, using the LCO method, not using a lot of heat, I feel like you're then counteracting that need to then not then need to always have moisture in something. And a lot of shampoo products aren't drying, so they will remove the lifting the dirt from the hair shaft, but they're not drying your hair out and removing moisture, I guess, or stripping. So I guess if you're kind of doing the process, unfortunately, there's a science to hair, you're doing that kind of in that order, you're then preventing the need to have to co-wash. Some people do, it works for them. I sometimes still might co-wash like on a monthly basis, say one co-wash, one shampoo.
Yeah, that's exactly how I do my clay washing. Shampoo, 2 weeks later, clay wash. If you haven't tried a clay wash, do a clay wash and do a pre-poo, then a clay wash. YouTube it. How much peppermint should we use on the scalp? Just on the affected areas, I would say. Maybe not the entire scalp, and also maybe use a like a base oil with it. Put it into maybe some olive oil or almond oil and use it, because it can be quite strong. Just pad your fingers, dab it as long as you can feel it there. You don't need to drench it if you've got to put it on your edges or anything like that. I feel like we could do a quick product shout out, Melissa. Just quick fire products that we like.
Yeah, Cantu's always been a good one, and As I Am is what I've been using at the moment. I actually found out about it from a black-owned company called Treasure Tress. I'll type it out in here. If you're thinking about products, not really sure, and you'd like to learn more about what's out there, they you pay £20 a month on subscription, and they provide you with about 5 products from different brands each month. So I did that for 3 months over lockdown and kind of got quite a haul of products, and As I Am was one of them. And then I was like, I really like that, I'll continue using them, stopped my subscription. They also had like Cream of Nature, and a couple more obscure brands that I hadn't heard of, but are new and are doing their thing and targeted at things like hair loss, etc. So I would encourage anyone who's not sure about what hair products to try to give Treasure Tress a go, putting our money into black businesses, but also exploring the options. And they kind of provide you, if you go on for a year, you would have tried, I imagine, a lot of the industry. So
Yeah, excellent. I guess, yeah, that's really good. I think I'll try that for me as well. Also, Cantu, Aftercare for protein treatments. When it comes to oils and butters, just get the natural stuff. I would say maybe there's a website I use called Fresh Skin, and it does a lot of natural products. That's where I order my shea butter, coconut oil, mango butter, almost everything, even scented oils. I like to put in stuff just because, like, this is raspberry scented and vanilla right now, just for the fun of it. You can get a lot of natural oils on there. Shampoo and conditioner, I just use Tresemme. I'm just saying. I've tried other things and it just didn't do it as good. So for me, the Tresemme wash. And Rasool clay, you can get it on Amazon. Rasool or Gasool clay, it's like an interchangeable name. Clay washing is the way forward.
I'm just typing in mango butter is great if you have shea butter allergies. I have a friend who's allergic to nuts. Shea butter is a nut. Shea is a nut, will come from a nut. So mango butter is nice. It's a bit lighter. It doesn't have the smell of mango, so don't get excited. Unfortunately, I was quite disappointed when it came. But you can get that on Fresh Skin in I get like a 500-gram like little box thing of it, and it's great. Haven't whipped that yet. I imagine that would be really nice whipped with like some other oils.
I whip it.
Ooh,
With
Kimbeley.
everything else.
Yeah. So that's really it, everyone. If there are no questions, you're welcome to kind of add some more, but it's a journey, it's a decision, it's intentional. It doesn't have to be hard work. Like, people look at my hair, and I can imagine for Kim to say, I'm like, oh my goodness, how do you do with all that hair? You just deal with it. And you don't manipulate it often. Your hand's not in it every day. I'm not out doing intricate cane rose styles. I haven't cane rosed in decades. I think
It's actually a huge effort for long hair to be comb road. It's a huge effort. Yeah.
disappear and then come back.
Yeah. We're not doing our hair every day, ladies. I would recommend you do the same.
Yeah. So we've recorded this session. I'll pop my email address just here. If anyone does want to reach out to get the recording, I'll get that from our NECyouth. But if you want to drop me a message, you can. Thanks for your time, for your questions, and I wish you a healthy and happy hair journey. Anything from you, Kim?
No, I'd say the same. Be patient as well. A watched pot never boils. You know, put your hair away and reap the fruits in 6 months to a year. Yeah, patience.
True.
Keep it simple.
All right. We'll be online for the next 5 minutes or so if people are a bit shy, but you're welcome to leave now. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, that was nice. Bye,
Yeah.
Giselle.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah. Bad people are just like, have left their phones on just in the background.
In bed, sleeping.
Bye, Camille.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can stop the recording. Let me do that.
Super.
Recording.